What was your take yesterday, Kurt?
It's more of the same for Republicans. As Willie kind of talked about, it's if I speak loud enough and quick enough so that you maybe don't hear the words that I'm saying because they're so ridiculous, maybe you won't call me out on it on live television. Thankfully, the witnesses were there and they did so. But it just shows how desperate I think that Republicans are getting here, because not once have they actually, in any of these proceedings, going back from the judiciary hearings before Thanksgiving to the one we saw yesterday, have they actually talked about the substance of the allegations against the president. They continually talk about it's a rigged process. There were closed-door depositions. This is an unfair thing.
And by the way, you've done this before, but when they start talking process and act shocked and stunned and deeply saddened that they did things behind closed doors, you have a quote every day. I saw yesterday. I mean, whether it's Jim Jordan or whether it's Devin Nunes or whether it's the guy with the hair that used to run the committee. What's his name?
Gowdy?
Gowdy. Whether it was Gowdy. I mean, they all have these quotes talking about the importance of keeping things behind closed doors, and just shamelessly they go out knowing their quotes are out there.
It's painful for me to sit there, having been the guy that worked with these folks, when they actually went out of their way to expand deposition authority to give it to themselves when they were investigating Barack Obama.
So, Chuck Rosenberg.
Realistically, just like during the Intelligence Committee hearings, public opinion today is exactly what it was yesterday. And part of the reason why is because when you have these type of hearings, you need to have the big witnesses, the household names that the American people can actually tune into and know who they are, not obscure law professors, not obscure diplomats or career civil servants. And this is why Democrats need to use every ammunition they have possible to convince the American people that they need to hear from Mick Mulvaney, from Rick Perry, from Rudy Giuliani, because getting those people center stage, that's what's going to bring in the audience of the American people to the hearings in a way that we haven't seen yet, and that's what could move public opinion. Joe just pointed this out. I'm thinking about what Republicans would say if during the Obama administration, when they issued hundreds of subpoenas to Barack Obama, if Obama had said, you know what, I'm going to wait for a court to rule on whether your subpoena is valid or not, they would have lost their minds and impeached him right there. The idea that somehow a congressional subpoena is no longer valid unless a court says it is one of the purest follies I've ever seen. There's no legal grounds for it, and constitutionally it is a complete violation of why separation of powers exists in the first place. And so, again,
But your committee did have some problems with getting the Obama administration and the Attorney General to comply, right?
Yeah, and when they did, we held them in contempt, sued them, and the court upheld our congressional authority to issue those subpoenas, which is exactly what any court will do and has continued to do throughout all of this entire process. What I wish Democrats would do a better job of is when Republicans are up there, and you heard this, almost every single Republican launch into a statement before asking a witness a question, they would go on about how there's no first-hand witnesses here. I wish that every Democrat would respond with, well, if you want a first-hand witness, I assume that you want to see Rudy sitting here, Pompeo sitting here, Bolton sitting here, and if you don't, sit down and shut up.
I actually went up on NBC think. And you're exactly right. Your argument is that from the very beginning, Democrats put themselves at a disadvantage by saying, we want to finish this by the end of the year. That allowed John Bolton to tweet, oh, I have some really fantastic information for you, knowing that the process wouldn't have time to play itself out. Because then he said, I'll do whatever the court tells me to do. So they've set an artificial deadline. It sort of reminds me of when we tell countries when we're going to be leaving. We will be leaving Afghanistan on such and such. The Taliban is just sitting there waiting because you're setting an artificial deadline. Here, this is political, obviously, not military. But when you set an artificial deadline, you play at, as you write in this piece, you put yourself at a disadvantage on a variety of fronts.
Right. So I don't understand the logic of starting an investigation in somebody and telling them, no matter what, we're going to end it on this date, which is exactly the reason why Trump can use his authorities to try to slow walk this process, because he knows right now Democrats don't have the stomach to see it all the way through. He can hold back Bolton and Rick Perry and Mulvaney and the OMB and Rudy, because he knows, as the Democrats say every time, well, we want this done by December 20th. So there's no reason why Trump should produce those people, because he thinks, and Democrats have telegraphed, that they don't have the stomach to see this into 2020.
All right.